Hey y'all, welcome back. Sorry, just trying to adjust here just to make sure I'm in the camera good enough here. Alright. Welcome back and welcome to a new year, 2022. Let's hope it's better than the last couple. Alright, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I mean, let's face it, I think we're going into a new norm. But to pick up where I left off on, I guess we'll say vlog number 3. I'm still in kindergarten. I want to say it's just about the end of kindergarten, like the last semester when we moved from Indiana to Wisconsin. And that was because my Grandpa Snyder decided to give a new career a try, and that was his hand at turkey farming. And it was a large turkey farm too. I remember it was big, and it's still, oh, and turkeys are scary. Here, let me just grab her. Wow, this little girl. All right, and it was obviously very rural because it was a turkey farm when we moved up. And it was a white farmhouse, and one of the best things that was there was rhubarb that was growing. So Grandma, when rhubarb was in season, while we were there, made a bunch of like rhubarb desserts, which was fantastic because I loved rhubarb raw, like straight up, not even cooked, sugared down, nothing. I loved it. So when she'd make those, I remember meeting Great Grandpa Davis, which was my Grandma Snyder's dad, for the first time, and he passed away not terribly long after we moved back. I want to say it wasn't like immediately or anything like that, but it wasn't a whole real. It was less than a year anyway. There was a lot of good memories at that place, but there was some bad things as well. It was the second location where I had been molested. It was by a family member, and it had been multiple times, and unfortunately not only me, as my brother was with. That person who did sexually assault us, once it did come out, I do recall, I believe that person ended up going into treatment as well. They were a kid, and the family, of course, then knew what was going on. So at any family functions, since I became an adult and seeing that person there, I just steer clear of them. I don't have any hatred. I just don't feel it necessary to be cordial either. Just because we're blood does not mean we have to love each other. Nor do I really believe in that whole saying, blood's thicker than water. No, it ain't. There's no. But at that house too, I remember, because we finished, of course, kindergarten at that house, and then we had neighbors, of course, who were also farmers, but they had cattle, and so they had an electric fence. And I remember my cousins, Michael, Ricky, and Angie, coming over and visiting, and then the boys being young and curious with electric fences. I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. The hilariousness that pursued after. Oh, that was so funny. I'm obviously not going to go into detail to spare any feelings for anyone who might be watching that knows. So, but that was funny. We didn't stay at that house for very long. I want to say at best it was a year before Grandpa went back to truck driving. I mean, back then it didn't seem to be weird for me that he wanted to be a turkey handler or whatever person, and then when his passion truly was trucking. But looking back at it now, it's clear, it's like, what were you thinking? But I don't know, I was obviously too young to be part of the conversation. Excuse me. It was also where my brother and I learned to ride bicycles. We got chicken pox. Um, it was also when I met my dad, um, which was weird. Because, like I said, up until this point, I thought my brother's dad, Tim, was actually my dad. But I met him at this house as well. So that was good. It was awkward. It's a very awkward meeting. I'm not going to go into the details, but it was just awkward as you could possibly imagine it to be. So just wasn't much, and then it was from there that we separated, because then when Grandpa decided to go back to truck driving, Grandma and Grandpa moved to a small little house, and they still had the cat Blossom we had down in Indiana. It was at the next house where she ended up passing away. But instead of us moving in with Grandma and Grandpa, we ended up moving into a trailer park. Where we stayed for 2 years. I love that trailer park. And then I had actually went to the same school for 2 years. I went to first grade and second grade was in the same school. I had actually developed some bladder issues. But, of course, knowing now what I didn't know then, but with being sexually assaulted the numerous times, it's kind of not uncommon for some issues to develop. Because that was about the time that I had issues with bladder issues. And then at that trailer, that's where I got my first cat, Benson. He was cool. He was named after a dog on where my dad had worked. My dad had for a little while had worked on a farm, and when I would go visit him on the weekends, we'd go, because of course he worked all the time because it was on a farm. We'd go out to that place, and they had a chocolate lab named Reuben, and he was a cool dog. And that was where I got my experience feeding baby cows and being around cows and like really in like up close and personal cows. I used to spend hours in the barn petting the cows, letting them lick my hand, lick my face. I loved it. I loved hanging out with cows, especially the calves, and getting to help feed the calves. Oh, good times. And not to mention, that woman could cook. I remember, like, my grandma Snyder could cook. And my mom, my grandma, like, they could all cook. But the farmer's wife, I'm not going to mention names just for privacy concerns. But I remember having lunches and stuff there. And I always enjoyed the food. Of course, there's not a lot of food that I didn't like as a kid. I wasn't picky. I wasn't a picky kid. So that was how come my cat got named Benson, was because it was after the dog. And that was because, why I say it was named after the dog, even though the dog was kind of young, Benson loved tennis balls. And unfortunately, one day he was found out behind a barn, and he had choked on the tennis ball and passed away. And it was about that same time that I had found my cat, which was male. Well, like all my cats, they're the tabby cat. And he was a cool cat. That cat was awesome. He followed me everywhere. He stayed in Mom's room at night, but like every morning he was my alarm clock. Like he knew when I get up to go to school, and he'd come curl up in my ear and start purring. Once that became a routine, Mom then realized she didn't have to wake me up anymore for school because Benson had already did it. He was also, because he did stay in Mom's room, like if I had trouble sleeping, because This trailer is also, if you, sorry to sidetrack here, but if you read my ghost stories story, the number one, well, the only ghost stories video I put out in October, the second story is the house that the trailer I'm describing now. That's where we had lived, and at that trailer, that's where Benson would sleep in Mom's room, and then if I woke up in the middle of the night and was scared, I would go get Benson and turn on the TV and get a snack, and him and I would sit and snack until I got tired again, and then I'd go put him back in Mom's room and then go back to bed. And it wasn't like that was something that was terribly often, but it was still often enough. And then it's where I had my first boyfriend, Jake. He had a brother who was actually in my class. I was in 2nd grade. He was in 5th grade. My brother liked to play, was friends. Well, we would hang out. My first kiss, he kissed me on my hand. Yeah, 2nd grader and I was dating a 5th grader. How does that work? But I don't know. I was always mature for my age, though. Always. I don't know. I always felt like I seemed more aware of things as I got older. So I guess that's probably why all my friends were always older than me too. Like, I mean, I'd have friends in my same grade, and I still have friends that are my age and even younger, and of course, obviously way younger. But for a long time, most of my friends were at least a couple years older than me. Some way more, like my best friend Amy, when she was around. She was actually older than my mom. She wasn't my first friend that was like that, though. I had a friend, Michelle, that was like that. It was actually one of my friends in high school. She was a year younger than me, but her mom. I became good friends with her mom, too. I was kind of weird like that. But that was in the older years, so those are stories for way down the line. That was also in 2nd grade where Mom ended up getting 2 more little kittens. And because Benson had been around for about a year, and that cat was so loyal, he started marking in Mom's plants. And so Mom got rid of him while I was at school one day. And how I knew is because Benson was always at the door like clockwork when I got home. I would see him in the window as I was walking up the step, and then he'd be at the door as soon as I opened the door. And so the second he was not there, I knew. And then Mom said she took him to a farm and dropped him off out in the middle of nowhere. That one still hurts. That was the coolest cat I had. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had a couple other great cats, and I have some awesome cats now. But my first true cat, he was cool. I think that cat still breaks my heart, actually. So, before I cry because of a cat, funny how I could talk about being molested and not cry, but bring up a cat and I'm about to fall apart. So with that being said, that's 2 moves in there. We're now up to 2nd grade, me going into 3rd grade, which is another move. And there's not a whole lot I can really say about 1st and 2nd grade. As far as a lot of memories, I mean, I remember us hanging out, off and on throughout my younger years. We hung out a lot with my cousins from my aunt on my mom's side. And grandma and grandpa's house, off and on going there. That was really the only family we saw a lot when we were kids. Except for in that time too, there was my great aunt. I do remember going to her house. That was awesome. I loved going to her house because she loved playing with my hair, and I always had as a kid, I had very long hair. And Auntie Pam, we'd go over there, and I'd spend the night, and of course had my bath at night, and before bed, she'd braid my hair and then we'd leave it up, and that was the only way my hair ever stayed curly. Legitimately, it was the only time. Even today, I can't do perms or keep my hair curled. Like, even if any hairdresser, like, try and keep a curl in my hair, after an hour, it's at best maybe a slight wave. And, oh, well, I guess also it was second grade because it was my 8th birthday, right? Yeah. I had gotten my hair permed, and without even washing it, it was flat. Like, it was frizzy the next day. Like, the whole perm had fallen out of it. It was terrible. I hated it. But at least I knew from Aunt Pam, as long as my hair was wet and we put it in a braid, I could actually keep a curl in my hair if I left it in like that overnight and let it dry. And then if I took it out and just lightly like picked it, I could keep a wave in it for like a good portion of the day. That was something. And then, shoot, there was something else I was going to, that I remember during that time too. Yeah, I got my ears pierced too. About that time. I clearly don't wear earrings. When I was a little kid, I used to wear them pretty religiously. And then I got older, and then I wear them once in a while. They're still open. But it's blue moon that I ever wear earrings now. I don't even remember the last time I wore earrings. Well over 5 years. Pretty sure of that. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a girly girl. Never was. Even as a little kid, I wasn't very girly. I'd rather play with trucks and stuff like that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles instead of Barbie dolls. Which ironically is what I got for my birthday a lot of times from one of my cousins. Was Barbie dolls. It is what it is. I wish there was something else that I could remember from that time.